Is there anything in particular about interacting with older folks that kind of draws you to them? I mean, for me, when I think about the interactions with people that are older than me that I've really enjoyed is when I get to hear their stories, hear about their lives, when they open up and they tell me about they did this or they did that. Learning that my great grandmother worked in the naval construction yards doing welding because she was small and petite. She'd get into really small cracks and crevices to do the job that a man couldn't do.
That's cool.
I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
So, uh, you know, is it that or was it something else?
I think that's definitely a part of it. I think another part of it is that their energy, like older folks have a calmer energy than younger people do.
Mm.
Just like I adore children and love working with kids because their energy is so big. Do you know what I mean? But with elderly people, and I say elderly, but older people, they're chill and they just want to chat about the history or, what they're up to, that kind of thing. So I'd say another portion of it would be just I enjoy just being with them and their vibe.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Orlando podcast. With me here today is Tammy Bishop, who has a really cool spin on an already existing business model. And so we'll let her get into that in just a minute. But Tammy, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Tyler.
Well, I want to start off the same way we do every single time. So Tammy, tell me, why is it that you do what you do?
I had an idea and I didn't see it out there, so I created it.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about that idea.
Okay, so my idea was to take the salon suite business model and make it approachable for, or actually create it for therapists like myself, self-employed therapists, teachers, tutors, education advocates, anyone who works with children and families.
That's
Yeah.
that's really cool. And I just want to, so I want to clarify for anybody that's listening that may not know exactly what the salon suite model is. It's this idea that was prevalent within like the salon industry, that like hair care, nails, and that sort of thing, where a business would buy a building, create a bunch of individual suites, and then rent those suites out into independent business owners, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So, it's a really unique spin on that business model for therapy. But you mentioned that you're a therapist, self-employed therapist. I'd love to know a little bit more about what kind of therapy you've done and kind of where that all started.
Okay, so I'm an occupational therapist and I work with children. And in 2011, I separated from the clinic that I was working in to become self-employed. And that was, 2011. And in 2020 is when I decided to move forward with the salon suite, with Our Sweet Village. That's the name of my business. I got regarding my therapy business, just providing services to kids in their home, in their private school, out in the community, and just, getting older and, loading the car and unloading the car multiple times during the day and traveling from city to city. It gets tiring. So I thought, if I could only have a space where my clients could come and work with me, that would be awesome. So that, and following my stylist from a traditional salon to a salon suite, that's what culminated that idea of, perhaps this could be a solution.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you're tired of doing all the travel to your clients and wanted to have a place where they can come to you. And now you're leasing out these other spaces, so it helps pay for your operating expense, which I think is really genius.
Well, it's not, I can't take credit for it, Tyler. I took the idea from Salon Suites. And also when I was doing my research before starting this business, I discovered something that I didn't know existed, and that's co-working. So that gave me another look into independent people working in the same space. So that broadened my I guess my idea of what it would look like here in my space. So yeah.
Very cool. So I've always been fascinated with entrepreneurs and what prompted them to become an entrepreneur, right? So you mentioned in 2011 you left a practice that you were employed at to venture off on your own. Tell me a little bit more about that. What led up to deciding to go out on your own?
So, okay, I want to say that I don't consider myself an entrepreneur. When I think of the word entrepreneur, I think of Elon Musk, I think of Bill Gates, I think of people who trailblaze, and I'm not a trailblazer. I basically take ideas and and fix them to solve my problems. And so I just call myself a small business owner, and I saw a niche in the market that I thought maybe could use a solution. I don't even know if it's going to work out. I, just celebrated my first year, August 9th, which is International Co-working Day. So yeah, so that's a side note. And then, so your question is about getting out there and leaving, the clinic. So I guess, I always was a person who would work well for someone who had a good intention with what they did. And any place that I worked where there wasn't that feeling, if somebody was doing it more for the money, I would leave. And so this clinic was feeling kind of like that. And I thought, this is my time to move on. And I thought, I'll just be on my own. I don't have a clinic. I don't want a clinic. I don't want to manage people. So it was perfect for me to maintain and control everything that I do.
Well, I want to say that I think you're selling yourself short by not calling yourself an entrepreneur. I honestly believe anybody that chooses to go out and be self employed is an entrepreneur. It takes an immense amount of courage, I think, to step away from anything that seems stable. So I would encourage you to call yourself, you are a small business owner, but you're also an entrepreneur. And in particular, this new venture is something new. I've never heard of somebody using it like this. And so it's definitely, in my mind, an entrepreneurial behavior. But
Thanks, Tyler. I
that's
appreciate it.
interesting that, no problem. I think it's really interesting that it's very clear that how you needed to align yourself with the places where you were working, and when you were out of alignment from their intentions, then you felt like it was time to move on. When you did decide to leave that practice and start doing, become a small business owner or an entrepreneur, was there a lot of fear about it? Did you already have a book of business? Tell me a little bit about that transition.
So in the pediatric therapy business, many of my colleagues, we work per diem or contract. And so we get paid by the amount of time that we work with kids. So any downtime we're not paid for. So it kind of feels already like being self-employed, even if you're not. And so when I left that clinic that had a salary and went into per diem, it caused a little, I don't know if I'd call it fear. It was more of the recognition and getting comfortable with the feeling of not having a steady income, right? Because there would be periods during the year where families take vacations and kids are not available for therapy. And so, if I don't work with children, then I don't get paid. So I would say the fear, I don't think I really had fear starting that business. Because it was me, you know what I mean? And so people weren't relying. I mean, my families were relying on me, but I didn't have like a huge caseload at the time. And so I contracted with another company as like a private, I became an LLC. So when I was working for this other company with a 1099, I still considered myself self-employed, even though I was working for a company. But yeah, I didn't feel scared in that one. Starting this business, Our Sweet Village, yes, there was a lot of fear, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of, oh my God, what am I getting into? Because I committed to an annual lease and wasn't making any money. In fact, I spent all my savings to get it started. And so, there's a lot of fear. Like, oh my gosh, is this going to be one of those investments where, I don't make anything? I don't, so yeah. And I still have a little
Yeah.
bit of fear. It's gotten a lot better now that I've made it through 1 year, but Yeah.
Was there anything in particular, anything you listened to or read or practiced that helped you overcome that fear? Because I know for me, my journey was I had a full time job, I had a side gig, I converted my side gig to a full time gig, but I didn't do it till I felt really comfortable with how the side gig was going. Um, and I had kind of proven to myself, and so I had adopted that mentality that I'm going to burn the ships and make this work. But was there anything that you did or read or practiced in order to help you get over that hump and make this leap? Hey, before we go any further, if you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe so you can help us get the word out about these amazing people and businesses here in the Orlando area. Don't miss out on upcoming episodes and help out the show. Now let's get back to it.
Yes. So my memory's not good enough to remember everything that I watched, but definitely YouTube, videos about entrepreneurs and their start, and how it takes some ideas take a while to really come to fruition and be successful. I think the one that sticks out most to me is when I was watching and reading about small businesses that they usually don't become profitable until like their second or third year. So getting into this business, in addition to the fear, I had to remind myself, like, yes, you're going to be scared, this is going to be a tough time, but it seems to be par for the course. Like, this is typical for a small business that's starting out. And so the fear changed from, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing, to now, can I sustain it enough to make it past that 2 to 3 year period and get into the profitable zone? Because when you're not breaking even, I mean, I think that's probably why a lot of businesses go out, because you only have so much capital. And like my husband said, you can't take out a loan. Like, he won't co-sign for me. I mean, if I really, really wanted to, I could probably find a friend who would do it. But yeah, no, I'm trying to respect his wishes. And so, yeah, I just hope I can make it past that 2 to 3 period and start seeing numbers in the black.
Really, that's fascinating. And I want to ask a little bit more about that relationship with your spouse.
Yes.
And that comment about, I'm not going to co-sign a loan for you. And I think I understand that. My wife is pretty risk adverse herself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that interaction, did you get a lot of support from your husband? Did he want you to do this and want you to, obviously he wants you to succeed, right?
Sure.
I think everybody's spouse does.
Mm-hmm.
How was that? And how did you navigate that as you were trying to approach him with this idea that you had?
Right. So first off, yeah, he's supported me 100%, verbally, and emotionally. When I ask him to come in here and help me with some of the maintenance stuff, yeah, not so much. So I've learned to, climb an 8-foot ladder and change bulbs and things like that. But no, he's helped me out financially. So he's been a huge, huge help. And we've been together since we were 18. So he knows my personality, and he knows that I don't often take risks unless I'm pretty sure that it's going to work out. So I think he has faith in this idea and my moving forward with it and keeping it going. And so, I had to ask him, because I was the one who was making dinners. And I said, for this first year, can you make dinners? I said, because I'm going to be getting home late. And he was like, yeah, I'll do it. And he did a great job. I mean, it was mostly meat, but he did a pretty good job at feeding us for this past year.
Yeah. When my wife says you're cooking, I'm like, okay, I'll go turn on the barbecue grill. Because that's what I know how to do.
I came home one night and there's this beautiful meatloaf on the sheet pan. And I said, hey, this looks awesome. Where are the vegetables? And he was like, in the meatloaf. I was like, wow, I was thinking something on the side. So yeah, no, he did an awesome job, and he still is. He's super supportive. And in fact, he had an idea for a side business, and he got it started when he realized how easy it is to start a small business in Florida. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love seeing that. And I'm sure that your entrepreneurial spirit to go out and get it done probably inspired him to go out and do the same kind of thing. So that's really cool. Yeah. I want to kind of change gears a little bit and talk a little bit about the therapy that you do. I read in the bio that you sent me about teaching people how to ride bikes, including adults. And I think that's fascinating. But before we talk about those specifics, I'd like to just ask, what got you into occupational therapy? What was it that inspired you to go into that as a field?
Working babysitting an older woman while I was a bartender in Pennsylvania. One of my customers, they were heading to Italy, and they had an older mom who they couldn't take with them, and so they asked if I would be with her, stay with her during the day when I wasn't working at the bar, while they were away. And so of course I said sure, not a problem at all. And what I discovered was they thought she had dementia. I realized from my time with her that she didn't have dementia. She had something going on where her thoughts couldn't come out verbally. And so, of course, I didn't have the medical training that I have now, so I didn't know what that was. But when they returned, I said, hey, listen, I said, your mom, she does not have dementia. I don't think she's losing her mind. I said, what I've learned, being with her is that she has these thoughts and she's trying to get them out and she gets frustrated. So it sounds like, and she's having difficulty with her speech. So she wasn't able to clearly speak what she was trying to say. So what I later learned is she had aphasia, expressive aphasia. So, she is the reason why I got into occupational therapy. I didn't know anything about occupational therapy while I was with her. When I told someone, another customer at the bar, when I said, man, I had a great time with her, I painted her fingernails. I tried to, get her back to like, just, speaking clearly. And we worked in the kitchen and safe cooking because she wasn't all that safe on her feet. And I was like, gosh, if I could get a job doing that, like that would be super. And somebody said, that sounds like occupational therapy. So of course I was like, what's occupational therapy? And so looked into it and I thought, yeah, this is my jam. And so I went to school at University of Alabama in Birmingham and didn't want to work with kids, hated kids. Growing up, I always played with the older kids and I didn't have younger siblings. I had nephews and nieces, but most of them were close to, or not most of them, but a couple were close to my age. And so, yeah, I didn't like kids. And so my second level 2 clinical, those are like apprenticeships right before you graduate from the program. I was put into a public school, worked with kids, and my eyes were open and I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Because kids learn skills mostly through play. And so I love to play. I still love to play. And so that's what geared me toward working with children. And I haven't looked back since. I haven't wanted to work with the elderly since. But the biking piece came in about, I think 2017, 2018. And I still teach all of my clients, my OT clients, how to ride a bike. I just feel like it's a life skill that they should have. And one day, sitting outside and kind of chatting with my husband, and I said, I could teach a kid with autism how to ride a bike. I mean, I probably could teach anybody. So I put it out on Facebook and I said, hey, I've got this system that I use to teach children how to ride a bike. I'm curious if it works with adults. And so a couple people responded that they would like to try it out. And that was the beginning of that side business.
That's really, really interesting.
It's fun. It's a blast. And it's not therapy related. So when people call me for bicycle lessons, most of them don't know that I'm an occupational therapist, right? And so,
got it.
And I get students from all over the world. Like they're living here in Florida, but I've had students from Africa, from the Middle East. I've had, all over the United States. And I've had a couple people who are traveling to Florida and they're like, hey, while I'm in Florida, can you teach me how to ride? So, it's amazing. And the stories of why like the adults didn't have a chance to learn when they were kids, it's amazing. And then to see and to be witness and part of the moment when they, can master or pedal independently. It's just, oh man, it's amazing.
Yeah. So I taught snowboarding for a little while when I lived in Colorado, and I can totally feel that sentiment. There is something about helping somebody achieve a goal or acquire a new skill that they didn't have before.
Yes.
And when they do that thing for the first time, right, and they turn around with the biggest smile on their face, and they're so excited that they finally did that thing they never thought they could do or didn't know that they would be able to acquire that skill.
Yeah.
it's almost selfish because you get more out of it than they do. At least I did. I felt that way. I felt kind of guilty taking their money because it was so rewarding for me.
Yeah.
So, and a side note, the small business owner that doesn't think she's an entrepreneur, it sounds like she has 3 separate businesses at the same
Yes.
time. So
Yes.
it sounds like you're
All
actually
small businesses, Tyler, not entrepreneurs.
yeah, sounds like you're a serial
Because there
entrepreneur.
are other
So
people who
watch
teach
out.
bicycle lessons. I can't. Yeah, like
Yeah,
none of these ideas are new.
yeah. Well, again, they're not new ideas, but you're taking the step to go out and do it where a lot of people aren't. And I've not heard of businesses that teach people how to ride bikes. So I actually think that is kind of a new idea. Maybe the skill isn't, but the actual business, I think, really is very cool. I want
Thank
to
you.
go back and just briefly describe to me, what was it about that interaction with that first person that you realized, wow, I really like this, and this would be a dream job. What was it about that? Like, because I
Um,
think for a lot of people, they think babysitting an elderly person and having that interaction would feel like a chore.
right.
So how was it different for you? Hey, before we go any further, if you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe so you can help us get the word out about these amazing people and businesses here in the Orlando area. Don't miss out on upcoming episodes and help out the show. Now let's get back to it.
I think just because of the person I am, I've always enjoyed being around elderly people. When I was a kid, probably late elementary, early middle school, we had a nursing home at the top of our neighborhood. And days when I was bored and didn't have anything to do, like I would go hang out there. And so it got to the point where the activities coordinator was like, why don't we make you official? And so she had me do some paperwork, and then I had to do some things around there, like deliver mail and wheel Mrs. So and so down to her therapy appointment or whatever like that. But there's something about being with older people that I really really enjoyed, and so when I had that experience with the mother, I was like, this would be such an awesome job. And I didn't know, until that point, when the customers told me about occupational therapy, I had no idea that that was even a career, an opportunity of working with elderly and being paid. So, because I always just grew up volunteering and just, like I had a boyfriend in high school and I ended up spending more time with his grandmother than I did with him. So, yeah, I dig older folks.
Okay. Is there anything in particular about interacting with older folks that kind of draws you to them? I mean, for me, when I think about the interactions with people that are older than me that I've really enjoyed is when I get to hear their stories, hear about their
Hmm.
lives, when they open up and they tell me about they did this or they did that. Learning that my great grandmother worked in the naval construction yards doing welding because she was small and petite. She'd get into really small cracks and crevices to do the job that a man couldn't do.
That's cool.
I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
So, uh, you know, is it that or was it something else?
I think I think that's definitely a part of it. I think another part of it is that their energy, like older folks have a calmer energy than younger people do.
Mm,
Just like I adore children and love working with kids because their energy is so big. Do you know what I mean? But with elderly people, and I say elderly, but older people, they're chill and they just want to chat about the history or, what they're up to, that kind of thing. So I'd say another portion of it would be just I enjoy yeah, just being with them and their vibe, if you will.
yeah, very cool. So, talk to me about the current business model. It's what was the name of it again?
Our OUR suite as in SUITE, so rooms village. Our Suite Village.
Oh, okay. So, how many suites do you guys have available? What kind of people are renting these suites? Do you have a particular um, avatar in terms of who you rent to? Tell me a little bit more about
Yes.
who's occupying your
So
suites.
the answer to your first question is behind me. is a cubicle wall. These are like Legos for adults. And so I couldn't afford any kind of build out. So I scoured the internet looking for modular cubicle walls and came across a brand that doesn't require tools and it's very light. So I can slide these suckers around on the tile floor. I can dismantle them and reconfigure their size. And so I would say in my space, it's just over 1,500 square feet. And I probably can get, depending on the therapist, if they were all speech therapists, I could probably squeeze in 6 rooms. I haven't done that, but usually speech therapists use a table. They usually work with kids at a table or in a small area. Occupational therapists like myself who like to have lots of space, probably 3 of us could use this space at one time. And then I have crafting teachers who come in and they want the largest space they can get. And so that's the front of the business. And I don't know if I had to guess how many square feet that is. I'm going to say, I want to say maybe 50 feet by 20. So it's a decent size space for maybe 24 people. Okay, so and then what was your third question? Oh, my avatar. So what I've discovered is my market is mostly women 35 and older. And that seems to be the therapists who rent here, the crafting teachers who rent here, the parents who bring their children here. And that is also one of the reasons why I chose the location. So the location was, what's the word I'm looking for? It would have, there's a common term. Oh, I can't think of it. But if I couldn't be here in Oviedo Mall, I wouldn't have opened this business because I wanted this business to be in a space that had a community feel. And public shopping centers, although they're in the community, they don't have a community feel to them. People aren't walking around just to walk around, right? So when you go to a public shopping center, you go to Publix, or you go to the dry cleaners, or you go to a fast food restaurant. So you're not there to kind of spend time and, walk around and look and that kind of thing. So when I found Oviedo Mall, they, I want to say maybe they were 75% occupied. So I jumped in when the rent was really good. Now they are at 100% occupancy, which a lot of people in our community haven't recognized and appreciated yet, because we still get some negative feedback about, oh, malls are dying and blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, the 80s and the 90s style mall are, but this is a different kind of mall now. There are lots of small businesses in here, lots of services, and not so much retail and entertainment. So yeah, so my avatar my avatar is those who want to come to the mall, families and parents, mostly women.
Got it. And so the spaces that you rent, it sounds like they're temporary. So can people set up a schedule to come in on a regular, like on a every Monday from this time I'm going to be there? Or is it, I can call you up and be like, hey, I need to host something this day. Can I, is it available, or is it a mixture of all that stuff?
It's a mixture of all that. Yes. So I have, including myself, therapists who have a regular schedule. So the family comes in at the same day, same time. Then I have folks like the Central Florida Little League football team comes in, coach could call me that day and say, hey, is the back room available? Or he might say, hey, next Saturday, can I have the room? So I accommodate people, however I can to just be available to them. That I want this space to be easily approachable by my community members.
So are you doing a lot of tear up and tear down for your spaces?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't have to pay for a gym membership because, with all the pulling and the pushing and the lifting, rock hard, baby.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're coming up on 30 minutes or so of our conversation. And so I want to be respectful of your time.
Sure.
Thank you so much for being here. I guess one of the questions that I really like to ask people is if there's a business owner or a aspiring entrepreneur that's listening to this, what's one thing that you would tell them that you've learned through your different small business endeavors that you would want them to know, you would want to pass along to them?
The first thing that comes to mind is to be patient. And it's not just from starting the businesses, but doing other projects like writing a book and setting up programs. Like everything takes time, and so if I like 2 to 3 years sounds like a long time, but in retrospect, it's not. Like when I look back and I think, oh my gosh, in 2020, I was just thinking of getting this business started. Do you know what I mean? And so just yeah, like stay steady, but don't let that amount of time, or the amount of work that you see ahead of you keep you from doing it. Just do it and be patient and get your stuff done, and it'll happen.
I love that. That is so great. Stay steady. I like
Stay
that.
steady. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll be sure to put some information in the show notes, but for folks that are listening, what's the best way for them to find out more about you, about the different services that you personally have, as well as your co-working space? Where would be the best place for them to go and look up some more information and learn more about you and what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. The best location would be Our Sweet Village's website, and that is oursweetvillage.com.
Okay, oursweetvillage.com. We'll be sure to have that in the show notes for folks that are listening. So thank you again so much for joining me today and sharing a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. I'm going to go ahead and say that again and affirm it for you. and really appreciate getting to know you and learning more about what you guys are doing. Maybe I'll have you teach my kid how to ride a bike, because I'm pretty sure I'll do it wrong. But yeah. And once again, thanks for anyone that's tuned in today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you around Central Florida. Bye.
See you later.